Before Iceland, in New Mexico. Yes, this drawing has a very specific inspiration. I live in a remote area of northeastern New Mexico. There's almost nothing out here. Mostly ranches, a few teensy villages with populations somewhere between 30 and 130. And volcanoes. Lots of volcanoes. Most people have no idea that a large chunk of northeastern New Mexico is actually a volcanic field. There are over 120 volcanoes within an hour's drive from where I live. The mountain in this drawing, Sierra Grande, is a gently sloping volcano that is literally in my backyard. It's the one with the radio towers on top of it. Being so isolated from everything means that it is very, very dark out here. I have literally seen my shadow cast by the Milky Way. I'm not exaggerating. That's how bright the Milky Way is in a really dark sky. So one night, I think it was back at the end of September 2023, and I remember that because it was really soon before we took a trip to Iceland, so Iceland was on my mind. Anyway, there was a forecast for a possible aurora borealis, so my partner and I drove out to a deserted ranch road and watched for a while. Even though we're pretty far south, we had seen aurora out here before. The sun is at the peak of its cycle right now, so we were hopeful. It was really windy. It's always windy out here. And it was cold. Very cold. We watched for a little while, but didn't see any aurora. It was kind of bright, kind of moony, so that might have been part of it. But then, of course, the clouds started to roll in. They seemed to gather in from all around us and enclose the sky till there was just this one small patch of stars left. And they were really wintry clouds, kind of vague and feathery around the edges. They were reflecting the moonlight in a very particular way. Everything underneath the clouds was a diffuse gray, but all around the edges it was a bit brighter, and you could kind of see a few stars even behind the cloud. The whole scene, with the clouds and the light and the landscape, felt unique, felt different from home, like we'd been transported inside a fantasy world. It was extremely beautiful. And I remember thinking, maybe this is what the sky will look like in Iceland. I was imagining all these elements together. A stark volcanic landscape, the possibility of aurora, the wind, the cold, and it was a humid cold, which is really unusual around here. And actually, now that I've been to Iceland, I look around every day and notice just how similar northeastern New Mexico is to Iceland. Minus the ocean, of course. And yes, I know their waterfalls are bigger. But between the two volcanic landscapes, you could almost just swap out the moss for prairie grass and sheep for cows, and the landscapes themselves are surprisingly similar. So this was a moment of excitement for the future, and also enjoying this place that I live, seeing home in a new way. Catching a moment, a view that maybe we were the only ones to see. It took a long time to sketch in the clouds in this drawing, partly because they were subtle, very diffuse. Feathery was a word I used earlier. But also because I was reaching back into my memory and trying to bring it into focus. The act of drawing this was kind of an improvisation, a slow process of retrieving and recreating the memory. The stars here are the real stars we saw that night, parts of the constellations Pegasus, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Equus, the little horse. Saturn is also hiding out above the moon and just behind the clouds. Before Iceland, in New Mexico. Thanks for watching.